सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति. Together we chant Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verses 1 to 10.
अर्जुन उवाच प्रकृतिं पुरुषं चैव क्षेत्रं क्षेत्रज्ञमेव च एतद्वेदितुमिच्छामि ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं च केशव श्रीभगवानुवाच इदं शरीरं कौन्तेय क्षेत्रमित्यभिधीयते एतद्यो वेत्ति तं प्राहुः क्षेत्रज्ञ इति तद्विदः क्षेत्रज्ञं चापि मां विद्धि सर्वक्षेत्रेषु भारत क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोर्ज्ञानं यत्तज्ज्ञानं मतं मम तत्क्षेत्रं यच्च यादृक् च यद्विकारि यतश्च यत् स च यो यत्प्रभावश्च तत्समासेन मे शृणु ऋषिभिर्बहुधा गीतम् छन्दोभिर्विविधैः पृथक् ब्रह्मसूत्रपदैश्चैव हेतुमद्भिर्विनिश्चितैः महाभूतान्यहङ्कारः बुद्धिरव्यक्तमेव च इन्द्रियाणि दशैकं च पञ्चचेन्द्रियगोचराः इच्छाद्वेषः सुखं दुःखं सङ्घातश्चेतना धृतिः एतत् क्षेत्रं समासेन सविकारमुदाहृतम् अमानित्वमदम्भित्वम् अहिंसा क्षान्तिरार्जवम् आचार्योपासनं शौचं स्थैर्यमात्मविनिग्रहः इन्द्रियार्थेषु वैराग्यम् अनहङ्कार एव च जन्म मृत्युजरा व्याधिः दुःखदोषानुदर्शनम् असक्तिरनभिष्वङ्गः पुत्रदारगृहादिषु नित्यं च समचित्तत्वम् इष्टानिष्टोपपत्तिषु
We have been studying the qualities of the Jnani, and basically we have to see them as qualities that a person has should he have knowledge, which means that if he's a knowledgeable person, if he's a wise person, then how would his life go? So it's not just about giving exams and things like that, but how is this individual's life going? That is how we know whether his knowledge is of significance or not. So we studied in the 10th verse about how he's not attached. Why would you not be attached? Because you've understood what are you getting attached to? It's all transient. What are you going to hold on to? What do you have the capacity to hold on to? It's like falling in love with a car at the traffic light. You're sitting in your balcony, there's a traffic light below, there's a beautiful car there. You fall in love with it, and you look at it, and you're very happy and all of that. And then the traffic light changes and it goes away. What can you do? You have no control over this thing. So a wise person understands this. He understands there's absolutely nothing in this world that he can get attached to. Not that he, can get attached to in the sense, what's the point? It's not going to last with you. Simply not going to last with you. So your only relationship with the objects and beings of this world is one of
service.
service. Very good. You meet every object, every being with the idea of service. You meet your own body with the idea of service. How do you take care of it? How do you nurture it? Everything you meet with the idea of service. Otherwise, you get attached. And when that thing moves away, it's heartbreaking. It's really terrible. I keep seeing, even on Facebook, various friends have children. They talk about the child is newly born, about all their love and attraction towards that child. It's really an amazing thing how much our parents so excited at the birth of that child. It's as if they can't see in the future anything. Not that you should not be excited at the birth of your child. That would be stupid. If you had a child and you were like, oh, okay, I had a child, big deal. It's not that you should not be attached. There'd be something weird about you if you had a child and nothing, I'm okay, I just got a child, no big deal. But in and through that attraction, in and through that emotion, you just understand that this is something or somebody I have to serve. Nothing else. Not expecting anything from it. And when you're like that, no matter what you contact in this world, whatever you are married to, it may be a human being, it may be to an art, it may be to business, whatever in the world you're married to, you don't get carried away. You get carried away um, by the, what shall I say, by the products of that marriage or the place where that takes place. What are you saying, Bharat? Service and attachment can't go together. Is knowledge is it knowledge plus service? Service and attachment can't go together. That's an interesting thing that we usually serve those who are we are attached to, and we will not serve those who we are not attached to. So you can't actually make the statement that service and attachment don't go together. Oh, Sarthak is back. Okay. Uh-huh. Welcome back.
Actually, that was the point that once you begin serving, it's possible that you get attached to it.
Also, you are attached and therefore you serve. You're say attached to your spouse or your parent or your child, and therefore you do stuff for the child. So it works both ways. However, that's not the kind of service we are referring to over here. Every husband in this world must be doing so much for the family. Every wife in this world must be doing so much for the family. And if they don't do, they will be considered to be really pathetic. I mean, we will consider them to be pathetic too. How much every family member does for every other family member, right? So it's a very important thing that we distinguish between what is service and what is doing things for your loved ones. Doing things for your loved ones, which normally goes as service, is how should I say it? It's sort of broke, like it's what is that? It's broke with like it's sort of. I will do all these things for you as long as you are behaving in the way I would like you to behave. And if you don't behave like that, or you make me give up hope that you will behave like that, I'm going to stop that service. So when we do for people out of our attachment to them, it is just as that attachment is transient, so too is the service that we do to them transient. But when we talk of service in terms of Vedanta, we're not talking about that. We're talking about an all-pervading attitude of service. It's got nothing to do with how the other person behaves. It's so difficult, each part of it, to say. You'd be stupid if you kept on serving somebody who was taking you for granted and treating you badly. So, like every time you say something, you have to make an explanation. That's why it gets so tough. Um, are you with me so far? The service that we do to our loved ones, to the people we are attached to, is considered a transient service because it will exist as long as the attachment exists. Basically, as long as the person behaves as we would like them to behave. So far, so good.
Yes.
Now, the second type of service is you have an all pervading service that you will have towards everybody at all times. Okay. Now, here's a problem with that also. The problem with that is how you serve will be dependent on how that person behaves as well. He cannot be behaving very badly and you continue to be like, what? Yudhishthira with him. That won't work either. So, every aspect of this requires explanation. You saw the second thing, even if I made the second statement that you have the same service towards all people at all time, there'd be a problem in that as well.
There we do it without expectation.
Yes, but you would be a fool if you continue to do things for people who are not deserving of that service. Like Yudhishthira, he has to, that's what Krishna told him, right? Get up and fight now.
So, Jankiji, can we say that the attitude of service stays constant for one and all, and the behavior is dependent on the context?
Correct. So basically, every single sentence you make, because the truth cannot be encapsulated in words. So every sentence you have, somebody can object to it. So coming back to your question, service and attachment can't go together. In the way we're using it at the moment, okay, in this context, the concept of service is opposed to the concept of attachment and therefore cannot go together. But in a general understanding, if you don't use our current meaning and you take a general understanding, then people only serve those who they are attached to. But we are not counting that as service.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Then is it knowledge plus service? When it is knowledge plus service, then your life will go well. And so that's what he is referring to. That you've understood it's futile. Why is your happiness dependent on factors beyond your control? It's just futile. It's a silly way of living life. Money. Oh, you okay, Bharat?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Mani Ramalingam. Loved one, what we do is duty. No, not at all. That's not the definition of duty. Duty is that which takes you to your goal. It is a very, very, what should I say, limited understanding of duty when we say that. You know, duties that are given to us by family and society and all those kind of things. So, what we do to our loved ones are usually attachment, are out of attachment, but what we should do for them is be able to maintain that feeling of love and that feeling of service regardless of their behavior. When you're able to maintain that, then you don't have to do everything they want you to do, but you have to do everything which is in their welfare. They're two very different things. Doing things in other people's welfare and doing things that they want you to do. Is that clear?
Isn't duty something that one ought to do because of the role that
No.
one has accepted?
That kind of, if you, uh, who's asked this?
Me, Gita.
Okay, all
Yes.
right.
Yes.
No, not at all. Because if you put it like that, then you restrict human beings from being what they want to be. Suppose I, as a role in my, suppose you take Mirabai in her role as queen of Mewar, then you'll give her 0 marks on 100. But that's not how we will treat her, right? She's a person of repute and highly respected, and we look up to her. So your role doesn't define your duty, except for those who don't have an intellect.
Okay.
So if you have to tell the wider society, do your duty, the assumption is that they have taken a role suitable to them, and therefore, if they follow that, they'll be largely okay. That's not philosophical. That is more Smriti literature. You're aware of Smriti and Shruti, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so Smriti literature gives you instructions, and Shruti literature gives you the explanations. So now we're doing philosophy, so we don't go with do's and don'ts. So
Okay.
my role will not determine. Otherwise, Shankaracharya left his mother, his widowed mother, and went off to study the scriptures. So we should look down on that. We should look down on Buddha, who left his wife and family and kingdom and went off in search of truth. So that will all not fit at all.
Okay.
So what is duty defined as? All those actions that take you to our goal, to your goal, become your duty. So if you wish to have a relationship, if you wish to have a marital relationship, all those actions that will help your marital relationship to work will become your duty.
That is because I have accepted the role of a spouse.
No, you can leave the role if you wish. But if you wish to stay there, then you will have to do it.
So I'm in the role, so I do what is expected of me.
No, the
No?
other way around. You
Okay.
choose the role. You have chosen the role and you can leave that role. But if you choose to be there, then this will become your duty.
Mhm.
Any action that takes you to your goal is your duty. And a certain corollary for it is any action which is an action of uh, those who have already served you towards your goal, those who've already done this. Okay,
Hmm.
they may not have any reason, they may not be it may not be applicable anymore. But those actions which are your actions of gratitude for that also become your duty. So, for instance,
Okay.
your parents brought you up and looked after you and the whole gamut of things, and now you are wanting to be CEO of your company. You're doing all the actions that take you to being CEO of your company, but you could not have done any of those actions had they not supported you in the past.
Hmm.
Therefore, looking after them becomes your duty.
So isn't it that we are playing multiple roles at the same time? So each role that demands what I need to do, being in that position becomes my duty.
Then, when they clash, what will you do? What's
When
your
they
yardstick?
they clash only if I'm not performing well in one role and I'm going against the ethical standards related to that particular role.
No, then
Like if I'm a teacher, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
there will always be a clash, no? A mother, okay, here's a mother. She has to look after her children, she has to look after, let us say, her students.
Hmm.
There are going to be times where the two roles will clash. How will she choose?
So that's where the intellect comes into play and guides me as to how I manage.
Right, but intellect is correct. Your intellect has to do it. That is
Hmm.
the equipment with which you will do it. But
Yeah.
what will be your intellect's yardstick?
Intellect will tell me how do I manage the time and the space that's available for me to manage
How?
multiple roles.
How? But by just saying intellect, that doesn't help you. It's like saying your discrimination will tell you. But you need to have, if otherwise, you don't need knowledge, right? What do you need knowledge for? Your discrimination will tell you. But to get better and better at it, you need yardsticks. Your intellect has to work based on a certain compass. Otherwise, you will not even know whether this is mind or intellect. Wherever the greater
Mind,
attachment is, it will
yeah,
automatically go. But
mind is very subjective because it's going to go on my feelings, my needs, my bias. So that is the mind. Intellect transcends.
is also subjective until it has a compass. See, a
Because
businessman's
the,
intellect will
uh,
look at everything from the perspective of a business. An artist's intellect will look at everything from the perspective of artistry.
but
So,
ma'am, is there no difference between intelligence as a capability and the intellect?
of course, there's a big difference.
So when the artist performs, it's his intelligence that guides. Somewhere uh, uh, influenced by his mind. But the moment there is discriminative wisdom and the intellect takes over, then don't you feel that there's a little more objectivity in whatever I perform or
Yes,
whatever I do?
of
Huh?
course, but for everybody is using both the intelligence means the information, and
Yes.
intellect means their discrimination. So
Huh.
everybody's using this at all times.
Hmm.
Artists, business, whatever in the world you're doing, everybody is
Yes.
doing. But if you have to have you have to have objective yardsticks. You
Hmm.
can't just say, I think so. Because then it's become subjective. It's
Then
on
it's
what grounds
mental.
do you think so?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you have to have a grounds, why is X more important than Y? Then it
Hmm.
will be determined by your goal.
Hmm. But that's where the value system comes
No, first goal. Value systems are second. First goal.
in. Goals, yes, goals are personal choice.
Hmm.
I choose. I
Hmm.
choose to be a teacher. I choose to be a mother. So it's
Hmm.
personal,
Hmm.
subjective. But the moment the value system comes into play, then I somewhere link my goals to these values. I cannot fail in my roles. I need to perform well to fulfill all the goals that are there in the particular role. So subjectivity and objectivity, to avoid the clash between the two, these universal values come into play. So service, gratitude to parents, although I'm a CEO of a company. So that comes as a universal value which keeps guiding me that I should not fail anywhere. I may burn myself out in the process, trying to fulfill everything, but I still have chosen, so I perform.
These would be very random, all these things, if you choose them, because sometimes gratitude will clash with this, and it's too much. Human life is quite complex, so you need
I know.
universal yardsticks. If you say use your values, everything becomes very subjective. But in philosophy, we don't have the luxury
Values.
of making all these things. We have to find
Mm.
universals. And if you have to find a universal, then it has to be the goal. Now, suppose you have two goals, then what will you do? Then you need another universal yardstick for that. And another universal yardstick is the value of the goal, is the value of its service capability.
Mm.
So that's what makes the goal valuable. Otherwise, it's a stupid goal. Stupid means
I
it's
know.
less useful goal. So they're always universal things which are true for all people at all times, and it's our role as philosophers or Vedantins to find what is universally true.
Mm.
What is gratitude? When there is a lady who's CEO of a company, she has a major meeting to attend somewhere in the US. Her mother is in hospital. What is she going to do? What is she going to give more importance to?
Mother
So,
who's in the hospital, obviously.
well, I don't know. It's not easy to say that, because mothers in hospital is okay. I owe a duty to my mother, but on the other hand, hundreds and thousands of people's jobs depend on the fact that I'm going to take these decisions properly. It's clearer if the guy's in the army and his wife is in hospital. Does he look after his wife, or does he go to fight at the border? So it's not always easy. It's a tough call. So you will have to balance service versus gratitude. That's where your intellect comes in. How can I do both? I cannot burn myself out, because if I'm dead, the question of anybody of my doing anything never arises. So
Mm.
how am I going to deal with all these various situations? So that is where your intellect will come in. But first and foremost, you must know which is the action I have to do. I have to do both these actions. How am I going to accomplish this? Then I cannot be dead trying to do them.
So here I will choose one action and delegate the other, make some arrangement for the other.
If that's a possibility, yes. I mean,
Depending on which
there are
situation, yes.
so many permutations and combinations are possible. You will have to work it out, but it will start with your comprehension of what has to be done. Then comes question two: how is it to be done?
No, ma'am, that's where the intellect helps,
Yeah,
because I'm
yeah.
able to discriminate. If the meeting can be delayed by another day and it doesn't really affect much, but I cannot
So it
delay
can't
visiting
be.
my
If
mother
you're
in the
adding,
hospital,
if you're
then
adding data, no, it cannot be. Life is not always easy.
You never know for how long the mother is going to be in the hospital, how many days meeting
I
will
know.
you extend that.
Meeting can always be delayed, but
So,
visit
But for how
to my
long
sick
meeting?
mother cannot.
okay, don't let's get into that. The important
And
thing is,
it,
what is your yardstick to decide which action has to be done, and that yardstick is the goal. Any other yardstick you try to use, you will find it difficult. Question number one is, what is the action I must do? And then question number two becomes, how will it be possible for me to do this action? And of course, intellect is the equipment with which you take this decision. But what is the intellect going to use? It has to use the knowledge of Vedanta. No? Otherwise, what's the point of the knowledge of Vedanta? Just tell everybody use their intellect, and now what do you want knowledge for? You can think about it, don't have to agree with everything that is said.
It's a thought provoker.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, what is the Sarthak? Our vasanas will define our duty. No, Sarthak, our goal will define our duty. Vasanas, as we have so many interests in this world, we can't do everything. It's not possible. Momita, we clearly cannot see reality except through our conditioned mind. Yes, we cannot see reality through our conditioned mind. That's correct. But on the other hand, we have to do whatever we can to see it, because the more we can see things for what they are, the better will be our decision making capacity. So that's why intellect over mind. But intellect itself is the product of vasanas. So there's only a limited amount it can do until vasanas itself decrease.
So, Janki, that brings us back to Bharat's statement earlier that we can serve and that will create attachment. Like through Karma Yoga, the mind is elevated and creates attachment for a higher ideal.
Yes, both ways is true. Basically, how is there any attachment created? Just always go back to the basics. Repetitious thought. The more you repeat the thought, the more the attachment will be created. Now you have consciously taken up work in an area. So basically, you're going to repeat thoughts, right?
Yes.
So attachment will form.
Yes, and that will elevate the mind. So then the intellect, instead of
It
being a
will
part of the
elevate
intellect,
up. It will
Yeah.
elevate up to a point.
right?
After that point, you'll have to increase the service.
Yes. So this is the
Otherwise-
way we continue to put ourselves in some discomfort till we.
Yes.
So then we don't have to burn out.
Yes. Comfortable discomfort,
Yes.
not uncomfortable discomfort. Sarthak. When we feel attached, I want to serve myself or my vasanas. Isn't that important as well? Serving our self interest in some cases. You see, what you're saying is true, but if you say it like that, you're using the meanings of these words very differently from how we use them. For instance, serving our self interest in some cases, you can't answer that because we don't know the definitions of any of these terms. But let me finish, I'll come to it. But if you look at it like this, it will become a source of agitation. So let us say, what will you call looking after your self-interest? Let's say you're having a financial backing, or doing your exercises, or even having a bath. You'd call that as serving my self-interest. But does it need to be looked at like that? Or for instance, if a person wants to teach Vedanta but has zero money, will the person be able to sustain? So to teach Vedanta, I require a little bit of money, and what I need to do to get that money, I will have to decide. Right? If I want to look after my parents, can I look after my parents if my body is itself in a broken down condition? No. So I will have to take care of my body so that I can look after my parents. That means I must exercise every day or eat the right food or whatever it is. So the attitude is of service. You're taking care of your equipment, you're taking care of your needs because you have a higher goal to reach. That is how you do it. If you look at it as, oh, I must be very slim and I must be very beautiful and I must be very rich, then all this is the cause of agitation. So what you're saying is true, but you have to use these as tools, not as ends in themselves. Is that clear?
Ma'am, your example with the exercise is very clear because I use the very same example in my daily life. But let's say if an example was different, let's say I had this interest in a girl at work, and what if this example is taken? That when I approach her or when I talk to her not out of a sense of service, but there I just basically want to serve myself because I want to have a relationship. That's my vasana, basically. So if we take this example, so to say.
So that's not how. So if you do it like that, that will cause agitation. Omkar, why have you kept Momita over here? You want to put Sarthak instead, or remove whichever one? Sarthak, can you put your video on? If not, if you're not comfortable, that's fine. Uh, so here's a girl, you want to have a relationship with her. So if you approach her with what I want, she will be repulsed. But if you take care of her without getting friend zoned, of course, don't get friend zoned. But if you do what is in her interest, you actually talk to her or advise her from her perspective, she will have definitely more trust in you and more desire to be with you. So you look,
Ma'am, but that selfishness creeps up in our heart.
yeah, you cannot, that same thing that I think Omkar was doing last time. You have, it is all relative for us. Okay? There is nobody who's like 100% selfless. But we have to keep our selfishness down to the best of our ability. Like, for instance, now you're meeting somebody. Now, why are you meeting somebody? If you are self sufficient, you won't meet anybody at all. Right? So, you are meeting because there is some need.
True,
But put
true.
your need on the back burner and talk to that person about that person. Then you will have a better relationship. So you can't use the yardstick of complete selflessness when we are not there. So in our range, we do the most unselfish thing we can. Like how they show in all the Hindi movies, how the boy is so good. And if somebody attacks the girl, then he goes and saves her. He's doing stuff for her. Then one day she realizes that, oh, I love him so much. Yeah. But if you go like first only, Kim, I must get. No, no. So any example, you use whatever our inclinations are with the attitude of service.
Okay.
So if you understand the impermanence of all things, then it stands to reason that attachment becomes impossible. However, you do have to connect with things. So, how do you connect with them? With the attitude of service. How do you go to work? With the attitude of service. How do you meet your family? With the attitude of service. How do you do anything with the attitude of service? The more the attitude is one of service, the better your relationship. Please notice that the word being used is the attitude of service. Do not make yourself a doormat for other people to walk all over. An attitude of service. I'm doing this for you, in your welfare, in your long term welfare. Therefore, if I need to say no to you, I have no problem saying it, because when I said no to you, it was in your long term interest. If I have to fire you, I have no problem firing you, because that was what was correct and good for you. So it's an attitude of service. Attached people find it difficult to say no, find it difficult to be rude, find it difficult to put people in their places. Why? Because they're dependent on the good opinion of the other person. Why can't you say no? You're dependent on his emotions, you're dependent on his good opinion. So therefore, very
I'm sorry. It may not be good opinion. It could also be because we don't want to hurt the person we love.
right. Why do you not want to hurt the person?
Because That will give us pain. The moment you pain somebody, it pains us.
That's called attachment. It's
Yeah,
like
but it's, yeah.
I take my child to the doctor.
Mhm.
Doctor says this child requires an injection. And the child starts crying. I will not take the injection. It's hurting. Sometimes the mothers can't do it. They can't tell the doctor, give the child the injection. So they're harming the child out of attachment. So if my attachment to you is such that I can't bear your hurt, even if this is going to be good for you, then I'm harming you. I'm doing you something negative. So
That's where discrimination comes in, because that's where I say that pain is necessary for my
yes,
child.
of course. If the pain is necessary, tough luck. Both you and I have to go through it. And regardless of the outcomes of things, nityam samachittatvam ishta anishta upattishu. Whatever is the upatti, whatever is the outcome of whatever you have done, remember everything that we meet in the world is the outcome of what we have done. I would not be meeting this had it not been the outcome of something I have done. Now that I have met it, what? I realize I brought this on myself. If I want something different, I will do something different and then I will have something different. So you accept whatever has come as the natural reward of whatever you have done. And you're perfectly okay with it because that's how it is, right? That's just it. If you add 2 plus 2, you will have to get 4. What is the use of rejoicing on 4 or getting depressed with 4? It is what it is. So just completely okay with whatever comes out of it. You keep working, you keep doing, and you're okay with whatever comes out of it. Now, even in this sentence, there's a problem. It's not that some people have got what is known as pig's contentment. They are okay with anything that comes out of it. It's not okay like that. You be able to recognize that what came out of it was good or not good. You're able to tell that. That's why it says ishta anishta. You're not saying everything is okay. You're able to see that this is good has come out of it or bad has come out of it. And if it is bad which has come out of it, say you had a deadline and you were not able to meet your deadline, then bad has come out of it. So you mentally understand that I was not able to perform. But from now on, this is what I'm going to change so that I can perform. So you become completely okay with whatever happens and you understand where you need to change yourself to get a better result. But that being okay with whatever happens is very important. It doesn't mean that you become tamasic and you say, Acha, jo hoga, Ishwar ki ichha se hoga. Arey Baba, you please work. Don't say Ishwar ki ichha. Otherwise, that's why the Angrez have attacked us. They have taken over our country. They have kept us in slavery. And we say, Sahab, Ishwar ki ichha hai. Ishwar ki ichha hai. Pagal hai kya? Get up and go fight. So you don't just accept it. Or it's difficult to explain these ideas. You've got to get it that you accept it. You're okay with what is. But you know that it is good or not good. And you know what you need to do to make it better. You are not unhappy with what happened, but you have the discrimination to understand what you need to do about it. I hope that's clear. If you're unhappy with what happened, you will always be unhappy because the world will not cater to your likes and dislikes. It will not. It is not possible that things will always happen the way we want it to. It can't happen because the definition of the world is, what is the definition of the world?
Changing. Pairs of opposites.
Pairs of opposites. Correct. Very good. Dvandvas, pairs of opposites. So it has to be that one day will be cold and one day will be hot. One day you'll be exhausted, one day you'll be full of energy. One day you'll be happy, one day you'll be unhappy. One day you will learn, one day you will not learn. This is the way it is in this world. And we get it. And whatever comes to me is a prasad of the Lord. What I do about it is my gift to the Lord. You don't just sit down there and say, Acha, de do bhai prasad, do jo dena hai. You don't sit down. You get on to action. Right? Verse 11.
Ma'am,
Yeah? Yeah.
could you just speak a little more about pig's contentment?
Pig's contentment is when, okay, what does a pig do? The pig goes into the garbage can, and with all that dirt, all that mess, he's able to eat. Can you do that? Can you go and sit on a garbage can and eat your food? If I give you dal makhani, but on the garbage can, will you be able to eat it? So you are not able to do this. The pig is able to do it. Why? Because he's capable of being content with dirt, capable of being content with things that he ought not to be content with. That's a very important thing for us to understand. That pig's contentment is a tamasic state where you're okay with things that you ought not to be okay with. For instance, we are not realized and we are okay with it. We are completely content. It's called pig's contentment. We are not pure hearted and we are okay with it. So, when we are okay with things that we ought not to be content with, it's called pig's contentment.
Ma'am, but we also have to accept ourselves and where we are at the same time. We cannot be like, okay, I'm not self-realized, I'm dissatisfied. I should not be satisfied. But if I'm not satisfied, if I don't accept myself as where I am, then I will not be able to work on myself either, right?
Right. Both are true.
Okay.
You have to work as long as you are. That's what this whole point is, right? You're completely content with what it is and you're putting an effort to make it better. But when you're content with what it is and you have no concept of that it is bad or you want to make it better or you're doing something to make it better, then it's pig's contentment. If you're contented, that can be tamasic. When you get non-contented, that is rajasic. And we are content with what you're doing, plus putting in effort, that is called sattvic.
Thank you.
But isn't the contentment the result of putting in effort?
No, there are two types of contentment. There's one which is a tamasic contentment, which is the contentment of no effort. Then there's rajasic absence of contentment, because of which there is effort. And then there is sattvic contentment, which is, what should I say, very consistent effort. So the tamasic person is so happy he'll do nothing. The rajasic person is not happy, so he'll do things in the hope of becoming happy. And if he does achieve it, then he does become happy. And if he doesn't achieve it, then he goes into tamas. The sattvic person is totally content with what is, but his discrimination works that this is not the way it should be. So he works on that. He's not unhappy with what is. He's perfectly happy with what is. But he knows that more has to be done.
Yeah, but his present state of happiness, this happy person is happy because he has already put in the effort to the.
Yes, but in the context we're talking about is what is he doing now?
Thank you.
Verse 11. Mai chananya yogena bhaktiravyakpicharini vivikta desha sevitvam arati jana sansadi. Mai chananya yogena bhaktirvyabhyavicharini vivikta desha sevitvam arati jana sansadi. Mai cha ananya yogena. Anya, other. Ananya, no other. In me, ananya yoga. No other thought. Ananya yoga. That kind of bhakti. This is the single most important quality in the spiritual path. It is the single most important quality in any kind of achievement. That no matter what happens, you have never forgotten
Your goal.
Goal.
your goal. You just never forget it. There are so many things that happen, right, in life. Parents fall unwell, children have graduations. I don't know, so many things go on all the time. Houses have to be painted, buildings have to be painted. So many things are going on all the time. The problem with life is not that so many things go on. The problem is we forget what we are doing. Yes, things will happen. Yes, sometimes you will not be able to put in the amount of time you know you need to put in. But never in your mind have you shifted from what it is you're trying to do. That is goes on like a shruti, like a musician, when the classical musicians sing, the shruti goes on, the tanpura goes on. Sa, pa, sa, never goes away. So, ananya yoga. Ananya, no other thought. No other thought means no other interest. All you're interested in is self-realization or self-development, and you never forget that no matter what. If you're eating an ice cream, you will not forget it. You're fighting with your spouse, you will not forget it. You go to work, you will not forget it, because every action that you have undertaken it. You took that action because according to you, that action will take you to your goal. And when we don't live life like this, then that's when all the troubles of our life start. The single most important quality, no other thought. Like an actor on stage, he goes through so many things, but he never forgets who he is. It takes very little for us to forget. Every Sunday morning, with great regularity, we remember that we have to realize the self. By Monday evening, we have forgotten all about this. And we will wait now for the next dose next Sunday. Never forget. Never forget. You got only one job here, no other job. Never have you forgotten what it is you're here to do. That doesn't mean you don't do all the other things. It's like telling the musician, okay, just do the tanpura. He doesn't do only tanpura. He sings all the ragas, he sings all the talas. He evokes emotions in himself and in others. But that one thread of his mind, which is on that tanpura, just never moves. And should anything happen, he will click back to that in a second. And if he loses that kind of, what should I say, that attention on it, he's not a classical musician anymore. And that's exactly our path. Ananya yogena. And then he uses the word bhakti, avyabhicharini. Avyabhicharini means something that never shifts. That love for the Lord, this love for the goal, it just never shifts. So your intellect has the goal, your mind has the affection, the love, the identification with that goal, and this avyabhicharin. It's like it's something that just never moves. It's supposed like a pativrata, she will never ever have another thought. So that's how it should be with reference to the goal. Vivikta Desha Sevitvam, going to solitary places. Arati Jana Samsati, distaste in the crowd of people. It's a very interesting thing. It's very, very misunderstood. A resort to solitary places, meaning the interest in being by yourself. Why are you interested in being by yourself? Any person who's interested in being by themselves is a person who's incapable of getting along with people. So there's no interest in being alone. Why can you not be as happy with people as you are without people? Some people can only be happy if they're surrounded by people. Some people can only be happy if all the people have gone away. But why is that necessary at all? Why can't you be happy regardless of it? And yet he says, resort to solitary places. What he means is the capacity to be happy by oneself. That's what he's referring to. Don't misunderstand it as, oh, I'm an introvert, I like to be alone. That's not what he's referring to. He's referring to the capacity to stay with the bliss of the self at all times. You do not require assistance from the world to be happy. The world is neither capable of making us happy nor capable of taking the happiness away. In other words, this is the quality of self-sufficiency. You just do not require anybody. Please differentiate this. To not require anybody is something. To run away from people is another thing. So be careful in your understanding of these ideas. Neither their presence nor their absence should make a difference. In Sanskrit, the words he uses is arati. Arati. Rati means to revel in something. Arati means not reveling. So in English, it's translated as distaste. So what it's referring to is that you're not reveling because the people are there. You are happy by yourself. Yeah, Komal?
Yes, ma'am. But the person who is on this path, he will always choose the people and will be happy with the people who are resonating with him or her. Ultimately, the people who are like fully in the world, and maybe it's a waste of time for him or her to be with them. So he will not like to be with them most of the time.
Krishna's life. Who was he with? Look at Rama's life. Who was he with? He has no view.
But only after after it is fully realized, he can cope up with all people. But since his path is that, so that would be a wastage of time to for that. If you are on that path and not fully in that state where you can be with everybody, and no.
So it's not 0 and 100, right? So as you mature in life, you can be with anyone. It's not a waste of your time. The reason you're with somebody is because you're serving them. Otherwise,
But
you're only
you have to choose.
hanging out
You
with
will
your
choose
friends.
the other. You will choose the type of people you would
Yes,
like.
everybody chooses. That's what the whole concept of having friends is. I will be with the people who suit my sort of mental framework.
Yeah, that is my that's what I mean to say actually.
Yeah. But that is only attachment. Because
But
I
some
want to be
attachments
with you
will
because
take
you
you towards goal, and some attachments will not take you towards goal. So here also I need to choose. If it
go
may
step
be
by step. Komal, just slow down a bit because these are not easy concepts to understand. Often I want to be with people, or usually we all want to be with people who are suitable to our mental reference. If you are like the kind of person I like to be with, I want to be with you.
Right.
It's got nothing to do with the goal. Spiritual people like to fool themselves that, oh, I'm with all the satsangis, so therefore we are all progressing. We're not. We're all sitting there and having a good time because we get along with each other. So it's not necessary that just because you're with the satsang, you will proceed. Mostly they just sit down and have their own kitty party. It's a different type of kitty party, but it's still a kitty party.
That too, I understand what I'm doing and why I am there.
I'm not talking about you. Here, this class talks about universals. So just by being with people who are comfortable to my personal desires does not help me get on the goal. Very often, people who are not comfortable to my desires may help me go to my goal. So it's got nothing to do with the type of people. The point is that whether anyone is there or not there, I am fine by myself.
Right.
Dr. Gita Mohan. I can be alone and not feel lonely and lost. I am comfortable with myself as much as with others. Yeah. Okay. So the point is that the quality of self-sufficiency is a quality of knowledge. Okay. So that's it for today. We'll continue next